Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. I say that every time I film a video because then I fall off it again. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. Today, as you can see by the title of the video, I'm going to be telling you my labour and birth story with my first baby. Firstly, I'd like to say it's a very positive story. I felt like my labour and birth, despite some of the circumstances which I'll explain, I feel like it was a very positive and good birth. Like, I was happy, I still am very happy about it. So yeah, I thought I'd come and explain it. So it may be a little bit long, so grab yourself a cuppa, stick me on pause, grab yourself a cuppa, and let's do it. I've written some notes in my phone because it was quite a long day. It was a long process, and there are like moments through the day that I don't really remember very well. But while I was in labour, I asked Ryan to take notes if something significant happened or whatever. So I have used his notes and the messages that we sent to our parents throughout the labour process to piece together my labour and delivery. Obviously, I remember most of it, but there were some moments where I was in quite a lot of pain and I don't remember certain bits. So, okay, so for a little bit of build-up, my pregnancy was super easy. I had some nausea in the beginning, but apart from that, it was a really easy pregnancy. I went into hospital a couple of times with reduced movements, but everything turned out to be fine in the end. We had one time where Thea's heart rate was really high and I had to go in to be monitored, but apart from that, everything was really smooth sailing and a good, healthy pregnancy. So on the 7th of September, I went into hospital with reduced movements. I think that was the Tuesday. I gave birth on the Friday. So I went into hospital on the Tuesday with reduced movements. So you go in and they kind of stick you to some monitors and check that the baby's all okay and that she starts moving. Because I was over 39 weeks, they wanted me to see a doctor while we were there, because if you're over 39 weeks with reduced movements, they start to get a bit more concerned. So I saw a doctor who asked if she could do a stretch and sweep. So I said yes. I was more than happy to sort of move the process along. So I said yes to the stretch and sweep. So I had that on the Tuesday. That was done at 3:30. The doctor then recommended an induction. She wanted to induce me on the Thursday. I said no, because when I was 9 months pregnant, my granddad passed away. And that was really hard. And his funeral was on the Friday. So when they said they wanted to induce me on the Thursday, I knew that I wouldn't be able to go to the funeral. And that, for me, just wasn't an option. So not going to my granddad's funeral on the Friday was not an option for me. So I said no to the induction on the Thursday, explained my reasons, and they booked me in to be induced on the Saturday instead. So after my stretch and sweep on the Tuesday, I lost part of my mucus plug about an hour later. I then spoke to my midwife, who was a family friend. She was amazing. And she, because I'd had one stretch and sweep, she said, let's book you in for another one on Thursday to get things going. Obviously, the more you have, the more chance it is to work. So she booked me in for an appointment on the Thursday. So when she did the stretch and sweep, she said that I was 2 to 3 centimetres dilated, which was great. After that, I think I had a few pains and things and lost some more of my mucus plug. And obviously we then had my granddad's funeral the next day. To be honest, before the date, I did not want her to come on that day. But a lot of people around me, my family, were convinced that she was going to come on that day. And she did. So Ryan had just started his course at university. It was his 2-day sort of mandatory induction. So I woke up at about 5:45 with some pains. It wasn't until I'd had 3 or 4 that I started to think, okay, maybe I should time these. So I did, I started timing them. Ryan got up to go to uni and I said, look, I'm having some pains, but they are sort of 10 minutes apart, you know, it's going to be fine. Go off to uni, and if they get to 5 minutes apart, I'll call you to come home. He was only sort of half an hour down the road. It wasn't too far, so I wasn't too worried about it. My brother was staying here. My brother Matt was here because my parents had some more family staying at their house, and because I was so heavily pregnant, I wanted to have my brother here rather than some other people. So my brother stayed with us, so me and him got ready for the funeral. I was timing my contractions throughout. We then were going to my other brother's house to pick him and his girlfriend up, and we were going to go to the funeral together. So on the way to my brother's house, contractions in the car were hard work. They were painful. And my brother turned to me and said, I'm not leaving for the funeral until you've spoken to your midwife, because I don't want to get there and you have to go straight back to the hospital. So on the way to my brother's, I text my midwife, and that was about 9:30. I sent her a screenshot of my contractions and basically said, do I have time to go to this funeral? She, like I said, my midwife was a family friend. She texted me and said, where are you? She actually came to my brother's house and examined me before we went, because she'd obviously examined me the day before and said I was 2 to 3 centimetres. So if I'd progressed quite quickly, she could then tell me whether I had time or not, roughly. And she examined me and said I had progressed, but I've got time if I feel comfortable going. So obviously I went. I think the funeral was about 11 o'clock. My auntie's friend was there, who has been a midwife for a long, long time. So I got there and she read my notes and she sat behind me at the funeral in case I needed her. So she was amazing. And I kind of sat there and I got through the funeral, having contractions. And by 12 o'clock, they were 1 minute long every 4 minutes. So to me, I feel like that progressed quite quickly. When I forgot to say, when we got to my brother's house and my midwife came and examined me, my brother then called Ryan and told him to come home, which he did. So Ryan met me at the funeral. We went to the wake for a little bit, and until I couldn't really take it anymore, and I told him that we needed to go home. I texted my midwife and said we were coming home. And she called me and said that there was a chance that we would have to travel further to a different hospital because our hospital was very busy, which is not something I wanted. But if that was the case, then that's what we would have done. But she came round again. We got home about 1:20. I got in the bath and tried to relax. My midwife turned up. She examined me again. And she made some calls to the hospital and she said, I can get you in now if we go now. Do you want to stay at home any longer? Things like that, because some people like to stay at home for as long as possible. They don't like hospitals. For me, they're fine, they don't scare me. I was happy to go in if they had availability. So my midwife left. She actually was supposed to be going on holiday that night, but she stayed. And she said, I'll go home, sort some stuff and meet you at the hospital. So we met her at the hospital. We got in at about 3 o'clock. Ryan then brought all the bags up and we settled in, and my midwife had got the pool ready. I wanted to labour in the pool. I didn't necessarily want to give birth in a pool, but I feel very comfortable in water, so I wanted to have some of my labour in a pool for me to relax. So I got in there and I was labouring, and I felt like I was handling it quite well. They were painful, but it was manageable. And then at 6:15 I was examined again, and I hadn't progressed any further. So my midwife broke my waters, and it was then that she realised that Thea had pooed inside me, which was great. So yeah, she broke my waters at 6:15. After my waters were broken, I was in a lot of pain. I'll be honest, it was awful. I was laying on the bed. The most comfortable position for me during the labour was actually standing up and sort of rocking and Ryan rubbing my back. But I got so tired eventually that I had to lay down, and she broke my waters and the level of pain just shot up. So I was on the bed. I did have gas and air as well, but if you don't breathe it properly, it doesn't work properly. And because I was in so much pain, I couldn't figure it out. So Ryan was there, obviously holding my hand and telling me when to breathe in and how long for, so that the gas and air would actually help me. It was during this time I was quite sick as well. I'm not sure if it was the pain or the gas and air or a mixture of both, but I was quite sick during that period. And about an hour after my waters were broken, I said, I can't do this anymore. I think everyone reaches that stage at some point during their labour. Obviously you can, but I said I can't do this anymore. And I said, Ryan, I need an epidural. And he was like, fine, do what you need to do. So at 7:15 I had an epidural, which was dreamy. I hadn't eaten a lot either because I was in quite a lot of pain. Once you've had an epidural, you're not allowed to eat. So I was kind of sipping water and, you know, just trying to relax. I was still in a bit of pain, so the epidural didn't work fully. I could still feel down the left side of my tummy, so when the contractions were coming, I could still feel them. So at 8:50, they realised that it wasn't working properly, and we're going to get somebody in to come and check it and look at it. But I then got examined at 9 o'clock and I was fully dilated. So I had a chat with my midwife, and she said maybe it's a good thing that the epidural isn't working fully, because it means you know when your contractions are there and you know when to push. So we left the epidural as it was. And yeah, I was fully dilated at 9 o'clock. They wanted me to wait. I'm not sure if they do this everywhere, but they wanted me to wait an hour before I started pushing to ensure that she was fully down and in the right position. So at 10 o'clock, we said I was going to start pushing at 10, which I did. It was a weird experience. I feel like I was doing it, but I didn't know if I was doing it right. I don't know. I'd never given birth before, so I was like, am I doing this properly? I don't know. But I was actually only pushing for 32 minutes, and Thea arrived at 22:32, weighing 8 pounds 3 ounces. So I asked for delayed cord clamping and instant skin to skin. So when she came out, she got put straight onto my chest. I cried like an absolute baby. And I just laid there and looked at Ryan and just disbelief, to be honest. And they just left us there for a while. Ryan then cut the cord. I think Ryan cut the cord. I was a bit out of it. I'm pretty sure Ryan cut the cord. And then she was then passed to Ryan. So while I was pushing, it's really important that you listen to your midwife when you're pushing. That is what I did the whole time. It reached a point where she asked me to pant and to stop pushing, and if I did push, then I would have sort of torn down there. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. And once Thea's head had come out, you usually wait for the next contraction and then you push the shoulders and the body out. Thea's head came out and then she just turned herself and the rest of her came out. So it was quite quick, which meant that I had a couple of tears. I didn't tear in the usual place, I kind of tore on the sides. So after I'd had skin to skin with Thea, she was then passed to Ryan and he had skin to skin with her while I got stitched up. I think I was being stitched up for about 45 minutes to an hour, and Ryan called our families and told them that she was here. Obviously all of my family were at my mum and dad's house because they'd been at the funeral all day. So all of my family were at my mum and dad's and they were just waiting for some news. So Ryan called them all and told them that everything was okay and, you know, she was here and I was okay. I was just being stitched up and things. So yeah, that was what happened. It was all very quick and quite surreal. Obviously, because it was also the day of my granddad's funeral, that's part of the reason why I didn't film a birth vlog, because it just didn't feel right. I think in the future I probably would, but the circumstances, it just wasn't right to film on that day. It was also the day of my nan and granddad's. It would have been their wedding anniversary, so that was lovely. And I kind of spoke to my dad and like had a bit of a heart to heart with him about the fact that it was their anniversary and, you know, the fact that she was born on the day of Granddad's funeral. Yeah, it was quite a lot, but when you look back, it's quite special that she was born on that day, and it was a day of sadness and happiness. So yeah, I then can't remember what happened. I was then sort of just relaxing in the room. Ryan was there. The room that we were in only had like one chair and it wasn't very comfortable. So Ryan stayed with me for a while, and at 3 a.m. On the 11th I told him to go home and get some sleep. You know, Theo was just sleeping and I was sort of just laying in bed. So I sent him home to get some sleep because I knew I was going to need him the next day. So he did that. The midwives came in and they kind of gave me a bit of a wash, sort of cleaned me up a little bit. During this time I'd also breastfed Thea for the first time, which was amazing. And then I got moved to the post-delivery ward and got put in there, and I had a little bit of sleep, not much, but a little bit, and then Ryan came back at 7 a.m. So he'd had like 3 hours sleep, but he came back at 7 a.m. Obviously because I had an epidural, I had to have a catheter. So when Ryan came back, I kind of said to him, I want to go home today. So I'd only given birth the night before, and like I said, she pooed inside me, so they had to monitor us for a while. So I had to wait to have my catheter removed. Once you've had that removed, you then have to pee in a pot, and it has to be a certain amount of pee in a pot. So I had to do that. So I was just downing water so that I could do it all in one go. And then, yeah, I can't remember what happened. Obviously, I got up and was walking. I went to the toilet. I had a couple of blood clots, which is pretty normal. Obviously the midwife checked everything out and she was happy with it, and I peed and got the catheter out, and the doctor had come round and checked Thea over, and she was fine. She's got a little birthmark on her knee, which they were a little bit worried about at first, but it's fine, and she had clicky hips as well, but we later had those scanned and they were also absolutely fine. So at 6 o'clock on the 11th of September, we were allowed to go home, and it is the weirdest feeling walking out of a hospital with a baby and no one stops you. That sounds so stupid, but you're just like, you're walking out and you're like, this baby's mine. Like, I'm not stealing it off someone. This is my baby. So yeah, we then came home and we messaged our parents and said that both sets of parents could come over and meet her that night. So, and they came over when we got home. They didn't stay for too long because they knew that we'd obviously just got home from the hospital and things, but we got home and Ryan told me to go and have a shower and just get myself relaxed, and then they came over and met her for the first time. And yeah, and now I have a 4-month-old baby, which is crazy to me. Yeah, time's just gone so quickly, but she's honestly the most amazing thing in the world. She's so cheeky and funny, and she just smiles all the time. She's just the best thing ever. So yeah, we're very lucky, and yeah, that is our labour and delivery story. I'm hoping to upload a bit more on here. If there's anything in particular that you'd like to see, then please comment it down below or send me a message on Instagram. I'll leave my handles and stuff down below anyway. Yeah, so I would introduce you to my baby, but she's having a nap. She is. She's sleeping, but I will upload some pictures of her here so that you can see her and all her glory. She's lovely. So yeah, I don't know if I need any more details. Her name is Thea Deanne Murray. Yeah, she was £8.3. What else do you need to know? She's great. But if you have any questions at all, I also forgot to mention I did use some hypnobirthing techniques, the breathing techniques I used. So that's one thing, and I used the Freya app, which is part of the hypnobirthing course, during my contractions, and they get you to use the breathing techniques on that. So it's not an ad or anything, it was just, you know, part of my journey and part of my labour. So yeah, I did use that as well. But I think that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.